Travis Wingoodsill. So if this is your first video you've been to, I've had to sue the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it's not just suing a one-on-one thing. This is a RICO conspiracy case. It's in the federal courts. It has to be civil because I can't get anybody to give me assistance, and thus the RICO conspiracy. As one who has been betrayed by the church, you go through lots of different kinds of emotions with being betrayed, realizing the cause for the betrayal, not just of the treatment you get, but finding out why. Finding out that the church that I was born and raised in, grew up in for 50 years, was not the Church of Jesus Christ. Wasn't even a succession of Joseph Smith. That it is quite literally the Church of Lucifer. The symbol of Lucifer being on the keystone of the Salt Lake Temple, indicating that the principles of Lucifer are taught within the doors. That's what a keystone is for. And then to see the same Luciferian symbol and the foundation of the keystone of the Seagull Gate, thus pointing at the state capitol, indicating that the principles of Lucifer, of the organization at Temple Square, controls the government here in Utah. That elicits sheer terror and horror in a person. And despite this, I've done what needed to be done in order to stop the abuse. Many other Mormons don't know how to do this, may not even know that they need to do this. But I'm not talking to Mormons anymore. The hatred from Mormons has gotten too severe. And so I'm now talking to those who have left the church. Those who have left the church, I'm finding out as I go through YouTube's videos, have left for different reasoning. Some for the church telling them that Joseph Smith was a polygamist, as they distract from Brigham Young. Others, it's lying about church history. Others, it's about not being able to translate. Others, it's about being abusive towards human beings, and human beings of a categorized discrimination group, such as women, LGBT, blacks, poor. And I watch as some people stand up to the church in the sense of holding a protest. Black members of the church, for example, during this time, came out with a protest for the church to be more nicer to blacks, but they're not sustaining it. I only heard it on the news the one time and nothing else since. That concerns me that they got silenced. The ordained women movement, the church immediately tried to silence them as they excommunicated the leader. And she went through the emotions of shock as I watched her video talking about it. I did, however, wonder why she wasn't relieved. I remember when the bishop threatened me, said, pull down your video that says that the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the church concerning the fall of Adam, or why are you bothering to come to church? That was a threat. And yeah, shock and horror from a bishop. You know, I've been threatened by lots of different people throughout my life, and bosses at jobs and such. But a bishop, that takes it up to a whole new level. But then I found out that the church was responsible for having me disappeared for 6 years of my life. And that was disappointing. But when I made the decision not to be extorted by my bishop, and I said to myself, all right, I won't bother. And I never went back. And it's things start opening your eyes to a whole new world after that. And for me, it wasn't just a relief, but a relief that came from, I'm putting the pieces together now, why this is happening. Because this isn't just a one-on-one abuse thing. This is a systemic problem that goes all the way to the top. And as I talked about in one of my other recent videos for ex-Mormons, and I'm not talking to Mormons anymore, my focus has been on the specific abusers. And as I checked to find out how far up it went, yeah, it goes all the way to the top. And thus I was able to establish the RICO conspiracy and filed the lawsuit, because those at the lower ranks won't stop. They purposely targeted me all at once, and it was a conspiratorial effort. It wasn't just the bishop, but he was in conjunction with the mayor of West Valley City. They were in conjunction with the landlord, and they were in conjunction with another agency that had helped me disappear, help the church disappear me. And then they were also in conspiracy with the woman who was formerly called my second wife, sister. So, I mean, lots of people were involved to come after me. And what they did was remove my wife out of the equation so that it was just me, all by myself. And once they got rid of her, they thought it would be easy. As you can see, I'm still here. And I filed the lawsuit. And so, during this lawsuit, I've caught people involved, listed on the complaint, committing crimes to this day. As the church, it was exposed by me as having been paying the person that had me disappeared. Informed the judge in the hearing where she was supposed to dismiss my case. And so the women in the audience behind me gasped. That's always a good sign when you say something that causes people to gasp and gets the judge to change her mind and say, all right, you have 30 days to refile. But during the time that I refiled and waiting for the judge to grant the service of process, because she never would, I found out that the church was trying to then cover up what I had exposed them of and had mentioned in the amended lawsuit. And so that is never a good sign for defense to be caught in the act of criminal cover-up. And yet the judge still was silent. So now we got the new judge. But before we got the new judge, let me backtrack a bit. There were people listed in the lawsuit. Because remember, it's a conspiracy RICO, so there's a whole pyramid of people involved. And after the church got served, the lawyers got served, on the 13th of March, Friday the 13th of March, those involved in the complaint of mine attacked again. This time they were trying to tamper with my case by threatening my life. How dumb can you be? And so yeah, then we got the new judge, and I'm starting to witness certain things going on by the church and other things going on nationally that nobody thinks to connect to the church. Remember, the church are huge investors. What's been going on during the coronavirus? Right after I filed, or they got served, and right after, or right before the death threat? Yeah, the stock collapse as people were transferring into coronavirus friendly stocks. And then the church was doing other stuff like releasing the coveted holy grail of handbooks. Yeah, I was recognizing the what do you call it? You call it symptoms for medical conditions, but I saw evidence or circumstantial evidence that suggests an attempt to flee. They got caught committing a crime and then trying to cover it up during a lawsuit. The church is busted. It's over. But there's more to it that gets them further in trouble. Because the latest filing, this past Friday, I had to add more, as I had put in a motion for an immediate judgment, justifying it with the additional crimes committed since the final judgment motion and the motion for disbarment and disciplinary action of the defense counsel on the 5th and 7th of this month. But again, regardless of the circumstances and the specifics of my case, it's all about holding the church accountable. And in this particular case, there was a conspiratorial effort against me. And so the federal government allows me to plead such a case, petition for it. And it's not about saying, oh, my neighbor's a Mormon, therefore they're evil and satanic. Because they may be ignorant, as many of us were. I didn't realize until checking out my wedding photos. And I'm getting a closer look at the Seagull Gate from pictures. You know, I was just looking at Google Maps, trying to get a look at Temple Square and get a photograph of the building across from Temple Square where the prophet lives. That's the prophet that's the room in the apartment for all the prophets. And notice the inverted pentagram. And I went, really? And so, yeah, and as I was doing other research and finding out more stuff, and I said, okay, wait a minute. It's on the Nauvoo Temple. Nauvoo Temple was dedicated on the Illuminati, which used the symbol of Lucifer. And then, yeah, checked my second wife and our wedding photos. Sure enough, there it was. And I mean, it's horrifying. You know, whether the devil is a real entity or not, doesn't matter. Finding out that they actually use the symbol of Lucifer and cover it up so that we don't know, and even fool those who do try to use it by getting apologists to lie for the church. Oh, it's a symbol of Jesus. Oh my God. And I remember telling the woman formerly called my second wife, you know, what if Nelson one day in conference, and it was the very next conference, this last April one, you know, what if Nelson presents Lucifer as our God? No, he would never do that. He's the prophet. Jesus is So yeah, the new symbol of the church. Listen to him talk about it. He explains each stage of it. You know, it's the Christus. Oh, that Jesus. Who's the foundation of this symbol? What's the foundation of this symbol? Remember, what's the foundation of the Seagull Gate? The inverted pentagram of Lucifer. The foundation is the cornerstone. What did Nelson say was the cornerstone? It's not Jesus. It's the church. And whose church is it? Lucifer's church. And who's on top of the cornerstone of the church? Who is built on the cornerstone? The idol god of the Christus. I mean, I'm surprised he had the arch, and oh, it's the tomb. He's coming out of the tomb as a resurrected being. I'm surprised he didn't put the inverted pentagram at the keystone of that tomb. And it is our worst nightmare to find out that the church we thought was a Christian church, God is Jesus, and then come to find out Joseph Smith was more on the Jewish side than Christian side. And then even more on the Jewish Egyptian side rather than the Jewish side. But regardless, Brigham Young had nothing to do with any of that. He created Lucifer as his God. And then created Adam as Heavenly Father to cover it up. But yeah, the abuse against me had to stop. And thus I had to sue. And filed RICO conspiracy. Because that takes down the whole organization. The little guys get the big top guys in trouble. But I didn't need the little guys after all. Because that's what I started with. And then found out that the top guys were paying the person who had me disappeared. Because as the board of directors, they are in charge of all payments. The financial department can't just say, oh, we're going to go write checks to so-and-so for advertising. No, they have to get the board's permission. The board has to sign off on it. And so it's not some low-level Mormon who works for the church who did this. Nope, it's the board. It's the top. And that's the one thing that criminal organizations make sure they never get connected with, is the money trail. And the church made the cardinal error. But we still have to wait for Judge Oberg. Because now all of a sudden she's gone silent. After being quick and hasty in her judgments, now all of a sudden she's silent. And that's creating more and more crimes on the defense side. And so understand in your lives that as much betrayal and animosity for that betrayal that you are experiencing, always remember to not give in and label all Mormonism, well, Mormonism, yes, Mormons, no, as evil, as liars. Because the low-level people, as we all were, because we're now X, whether you signed or didn't sign, doesn't matter, we're X. We want nothing more to do with the church. That there are still others like us who lie not knowing the truth. And so it's unfair for us to accuse the innocent. And so I plead with you to always remember, be specific about your accusations. If it's a specific Mormon who did wrong to you, yes, speak out against them. The court systems are unfair. We've had that systemic problem from the beginning. And you can see today that it's still giving us grief as justice is not served. And if you can, identify whether it's Mormonism and the leadership failing to tell us the truth, because they've only told us that they're confessing to having lied to us. They still haven't told us the truth yet. And so focus on the church rather than the Mormons, unless a specific Mormon has done wrong to you. Establishing a conspiracy is a little trickier. It can be done, though. If it had been done, it can be uncovered. But, focus on the individual that did you wrong rather than all Mormons generalized. Because other groups have been generalized and victimized when they've done nothing wrong. It's similar in a marriage. I was abandoned twice, and I can see the tendency to mistrust all women because of the two examples I've had, plus my mother, plus my sisters, plus all women I've come in contact with. But to then go so far as to generalize all women under that category would be a mistake on my part. And other areas also. So be careful of that. And as always, identify the problems with the church. Don't say, oh, well, they don't worship the Trinity as Christians do. That's not a good argument. There are lots of different religions. They all have different gods. Even in Christianity, they all have different Jesuses. They just don't want to admit it. Because why is there a Baptist, a Presbyterian, a Methodist, evangelical, etc.? Because each one of them believes that the Jesus has different natures and characters and allows for different things than the others. And thus it's not the same Jesus. Now there is an effort to try to unite Christianity back into one Christianity, but it still has a long way to go. It would take another Nicene Creed with the emperor extorting compliance and uniformity before that can happen again. And I guess it would be easier now to decide who God is. I don't know. Maybe it would be the reverse. Maybe they can figure out God, but they can't figure out the other parts. Should it be baptism by sprinkling or by immersion? And is it babies, or does it have to be adults? I don't know. That would be interesting to see if it was a turnaround from Constantine's situation. But always focus on the crime committed by the church. And so, with ordained women, for example, all they were doing was saying, hey, you're not treating women fairly, treat us better, and so the church excommunicates the leader? No. That's wrong. So complain about that the church took out the leader, and then after taking out the leader, oh, now women can wear slacks. Oh, Nelson changed the temple so that Eve has a larger speaking role, and women no longer have to obey their husbands, and women no longer need to wear the veil. Wait a minute, what's this in the law of chastity? The law of God? What's the law of God regarding marriage? Section 132? 10 virgins? Yeah. They played you. They let you believe they were giving you an inch so that you think you can now take them a mile, when in reality, they already set you up for failure. They're planning for polygamy. And they did it right before coronavirus, in the October conference last year. Because at the beginning of 2019, they set it up, and then boom, Oaks, in that first Saturday session, as the last speaker of that session, talks about a woman asking him, am I going to be the first wife now that his other wife is dead, or am I going to be the second wife? And he says, trust in the Lord. He dismisses her question. He's accepting polygamy and dismisses her question to not worry about it. Yeah. And then coronavirus. And then that then leads to, how much did they know about coronavirus in advance? Because remember when Nelson came out in his very first conference and said, hey, we've been dealing with Russia to have a temple. You don't deal in Russia unless you're a criminal, or unless they get you dirty. And so, yeah, when Nelson said that, other Mormons were going, yay! We're going to convert Russia, and they're going to become godly people. We're going to get the temple in there. Yeah, they don't understand. That naivety is what the church expects of them. We've left. We represent smarter people because we said no more. We will not be abused anymore. And so I don't know if you guys understood some of the things that have been going on, because it's not what you left for. For example, there's the two women, probably sisters. They're like the Great and Spacious World, I think is their channel name. And they focus on polygamy and the abuse of the church towards women. Mostly with polygamy, as I've seen. And so for them, they're not concerned with the sign of Lucifer. They're not concerned with other issues other than the church confesses that they've lied about church history and polygamy, and that the church is blaming Joseph for it. And these two women, not girls, these two women got upset and left. And so now they talk about, oh, it's horrible. So-and-so said this about Joseph being a polygamist and a 14-year-old girl and blah, blah. And they don't step out of the box to look back in to say, wait a minute, they confessed to lying to us, and now we're trusting them to be telling the truth? Yeah, no. Like I said, the church only confessed to lying. That's all we can trust of them. they have never come out with the truth. Because you can forge documents, you can extort women to lie in order for them to get funding for their daily living. And that's what Brigham Young did. That's why women went with them to Salt Lake, is because, hey, be my polygamous wife, I'll take care of you. But you got to come with us to Salt Lake because we're leaving this United States. And what do? Say no? How do they take care of themselves? This is the 1800s. Women aren't allowed to take care of themselves. So, historians forget that. And so, yes, under those conditions, you either die by telling the truth, or refusing to tell the lie, or you tell the lie. So, oh yeah, Joseph, yeah, I was married and he tried to have sex with me, steal me away from my husband. Oh yeah, a 14-year-old girl had sex with her. And where are the babies? So yeah, and forging documents. Desdemona Fulmer, my third great aunt, after Joseph died. Sealed to Joseph after he died, so that she would be taken care of and go with Brigham to Salt Lake. And Brigham bribed my third great grandfather with a position in the organization. I think it was Board of Trustees or something, so that he would then feel obligated to go. He was bribed. That's how Brigham Young worked. So, I don't want to go any further because I'm wanting to go to bed. So, please, don't get played. Because we already have. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.